Hi, my name is Theodore Cottingham, a common, simple, ordinary man in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And I sit in a chair of leadership. I leadershiped me to become me who I am, not laden with a bureaucracy of God, an idea of God anymore that's over me, that loves me, that's constantly watching me, observing me, hoping I'll do wrong not, but punishing me for every act of unkindness, punishing me for every false thought, every unkind deed. If I don't observe the rules, I don't get admitted into heaven. Wondering if I'm worthy. I spent most of my life observing God, serving God, wanting to do God's will. I was a devoted Christian, devout, dedicated. After I became married and had a couple of kids, active in church, somehow I knew in my heart there was more. Not my blood pumping muscle, but my mind. The heart of my mind, the center. Somehow deep within me, not just here, but in my mind, I knew there was more. And there is. There's so much more than the Orthodox Christian story. There's so much more than any Bible. There's so much more love than arrogance portrays and whitewashes its motives as. You see, there's just more to the story. But are we willing to hear it? Remember, at one point, it's reported that Jesus said, I have so much more to say to you, but you cannot now bear it. You can't bear it. You can't imagine it. And if you can't imagine it, how can you enter it? If you can't even imagine it being true, your mind, is that not a rejection of your mind, of all of it? If you can't imagine it? Your imagination rules you. What part does your imagination play in what you serve, how you serve, why you serve? Why are you serving any God? Any God, anywhere, of any name. Why don't you be who you are? Why don't you become what you are? Why don't you live your own words rather than someone else's? Rather than the words in some book that are put together in certain ways as to indicate keys, ideas, images, constructs, stories, stories that create images. Words create images. Stories create images, moving images, images over time. What are you doing with your images? What are you doing with your imagination? Where does imagination come into what you believe is truth or not? You see, if I share with you, if I say, you have the power to hang planets in space, I certainly understand why you would reject it, because if you have the power, but you don't have the authority, what if you have the power and the authority, but you can't imagine it? You can't even imagine it, so you dismiss it. You just dismiss the idea. How ludicrous. How ludicrous of this guy to say, I can hang a planet and I can create a planet and hang it in space. I can walk on water. This guy's telling me I can walk. This guy named Theodore's a nut. A nutcase. I understand that. I didn't sit in this chair of leadership in one act of a decision. I grew my ability to sit in this chair, to speak these words, to have these words, to understand these words, to imagine them for you. Not just limited to me. I'm no special guy. I'm no special person. I'm common as the day is long. I'm brilliant. But what does that mean? Am I a person of light or intelligence? Or both or neither? Or do I radiate something? Or do I have an energy? How are you using your words? And how is your imagination using you, controlling you? What are the words doing to you? The words that you've grown up with. The words that people have spoken over you all your life. The words that are spoken over you now by people you live with. Do they set you free? Do they encourage you? Do they encourage your growth? What kind of growth? Recidivism? I want you to go back into your prison of unworthiness. Do they make you small, or are they bringing you out to think thoughts you've never imagined that are possible for you? Because what? Because you're the creator. I stand in the chair of leadership and tell you this day, be imaginative. Let your imagination run wild? Well, let's not let it run wild over you, but let's oil it some. so it's not rusty. You see, I had no idea I would use these words, say these words, when I pressed the button to record, to go live. I trust. I teach. I become what I teach. So the energy is me that I imagine you comprehending. This is not incomprehensible. This is not rocket science. This is Jesus the pattern. A different story of Jesus. Yes, it is. A very different story. Of Orthodox Christianity? No, it's a very different story. It says Orthodox Christianity has robbed us, kept us in chains, tethered us to ideas because their teachers are ignorant. Why do I make such a brash statement? I hope I'm wrong. There are many things I'd like to be wrong about. But this is not one of them. Have no other God before you. Because as soon as you have a God before you, as soon as you say there is a God besides you, you just created the gap. You just created the fall of humanity, the fall of a person, the fall of the human mind, the fall of the real you to accept a lie. See, if you are inextricably linked, linked with an active connection, an active link to the mind of what we've called God when we thought God was good, we thought God was great, we thought God was love. If you have an active link, why would you not think God thoughts? The thoughts of God, the mind of God. Why do you limit yourself to your mind when you can operate in the mind of God, the mind of that love? The role of imagination may be more crucial to your maturity than you've given it credit for. Are you willing to conceive a new idea? Conceive in your belly? No, your womb. Your womb, where thoughts come forth, the conception of the conceptor, the seed. See, the words are the seed. Remember the parable? If you don't remember the parables, I hope you remember. Go look it up. Read it. Find which one talks about the seed and where Jesus explains it. The word is the seed. The word. The word? What is a word? Ink on paper? A syllable? A piece of energy. A piece of energy that carries data. A piece of energy that carries data that I speak. Do you hear just the syllable? Or can you perceive the motive that I speak with? Am I encoding? Is there more information with that quanta, with that packet, with that waveform, the amplitude, the transmission of energy to you, for you to receive and decode it? Is there more information than we have thought? You see, if all you want to see is the visible world in 3D, limited to the visual spectrum, a tiny percent of the entire energy spectrum. If you're just happy with what you see and with your two eyes and say, this is the world, this is the real world, que sera, sera, you'll get done unto you what people have taught you to create. For you will have created you in the suffering world to suffer. You will have appointed you to die and expect some kind of judgment because people teach you that. People teach you, you create it. You imagine it, you believe it. Do you believe it or imagine it? Or what role does imagination play in belief or conception of ideas? Or conception of the truth? I'm asking you to lead you. I sit here not in the chair of leadership telling you what to believe and why to believe and how to believe and when. I ask a heck of a lot of questions. Don't I? Sometimes hundreds an hour, in 1 hour of teaching, a 1 hour lesson. You realize I have over 2,000 videos on YouTube now. For what purpose? For you to know God. When I thought God was love. And I thought the Bible was true, accurate. I thought a lot of things, just like a lot of first graders do. And then second graders learn there's more to the story. In third grade, you learn, well, there's a little more to math than 2 plus 2. There are more words to learn the definition of. There are different learning methods. Intelligence, there's even different kinds of intelligence. IQ, ability. Perceptual ability, spiritual, mental, physical, and all sorts of things. So there's all sorts of divisions of things to apply meanings to define. To define, to place limits around, to understand, to communicate, to define the definitions, to communicate the pictures, communicate the abilities, communicate the problems, communicate the answers. I ask you to consider what you might at first think is really a ridiculous, absurd, ludicrous, unreasonable question. Does this picture of some kind of darkly cloaked figure pulling the puppet strings of an individual represent you? Well, of course, we could say, of course not. We have freedom to move about, walk to different rooms, hopefully travel to different countries. Not everybody has that privilege, but many do. But what limits us? What limits our world? Why aren't we doing the works that Jesus did? Jesus said in John 14:12, if you will believe in me, if you believe in me, you will do the works that I do and greater. Jesus went about teaching the kingdom of God. He didn't teach church. He didn't teach compliance with the law. I don't know. Was it the last time that he went into a religious temple? They were enraged at what he said. Today the scripture's fulfilled in your hearing. He said things, ludicrous things like, I and my Father are one, and my Father is God. God is my Father. So the religious wanted to stone him. Why? They wanted to protect their belief system. They wanted to protect their power. Their belief system gave them their identity. I'm asking you, if your belief system gives you your identity, who has given you the words of your belief system? A preacher? Your parents? A book? I'm asking you, to realize there's more. And allow yourself to imagine more. And if you can't allow yourself to imagine more, at least allow yourself to consider the possibility, however remotely. Did God say, don't eat of the fruit, the knowledge, the tree of life? Wait, who is God? God said, he said to them, did he speak words? Was he there in person? Was God a person? How did God speak? How did they know it was God? How do you know? How do you know the power of that book? You see how many things we've assumed? We make all sorts of assumptions. It's easy to say, oh, there are millions of Christians. There's millions of this, that, and the other. They can't all be wrong. For 2,000 years, yes, they can. They can all be wrong. I submit to you, Jesus was a common guy, just like you and me. But he learned. He was the first one that learned the key. The key, he learned to surrender to who he was. And surrendering to who he was permitted him to receive a stream of words he channeled. He was taught by the Father. He was taught by love who he was. And being taught by love who he was, he began to learn what he could do. And that a whole lot of things about this earth and all the religious teaching didn't limit him. So he began. He didn't have faith. He didn't have faith in his Father. He didn't have faith in God. He became who he was. He was the first of many. And he said, if you believe in me, do the things I do. And don't stop there. Motive. He didn't place a cap on you. He didn't place a cap and say, do this way, but no more. He did not limit your authority. Do the works I do in greater? Well, what works was he talking about? I suggest all the works, the parables, the miracles. I said, you think it may sound ludicrous if I say that you, my friend, a flesh person, whether you're white, black, blue, green, yellow, red, you can hang planets in space, because we are of a race that we have severed the connection to. Because we've wanted to sever that connection, because we've been afraid of it. Afraid of our power. We've been like grasshoppers in our sight. We've wanted to hold on to our blanket, carry it around. We've wanted to hold on to our teddy bear, our dolls. We've wanted to hold on to the words that were given us, hoping they were true. God. There's a God looking out for you, and God has a plan for your life. Seek the will of God. Don't make waves. Don't make waves for the religious leaders. When I began to ask questions and know there was more, and began to seek it and not say no and not take no for an answer, I went to religious leaders in Tulsa. More than once. To be castrated, condemned, I was so naive at the time when I began to spend an hour a day in prayer, 5 days a week. I began to write notes. I began to write phrases that I thought God was communicating with me. I began to share. Pastors, preachers. I was so naive, I thought I would be complimented like I'm being a good student, and they would be happy. Not one. Not one! Not one to this day. But boy, did I feel their wrath. Who do you think you are that God would speak to you this way? Two different pastors of large churches that I talked with, that I communicated with very humbly, talked with, tried to tell them, just simply share what I was experiencing. And Sunday morning services didn't call my name, but they described me and how ludicrous it was, the thought that I would think God is talking to me directly, that God would teach me directly. See, they were ignorant. They didn't have any understanding of the operation of the new covenant. They didn't know the motive of love. I venture to say they didn't know Jesus no matter how much they teach about him. They didn't know the motive. The motive. Why do I say that? The motive, I look at John 14:12. Jesus said, if you believe in me, you will do the works I do and greater. There was no motive to limit our authority. I suggest to you, love is not a person. Love is a flow. Love is an energy, a state of being, a state of energy, a state of being. a state of thought, a state of consciousness, a state of ability, power, and authority that we have never comprehended. But it's coming now, because I think there are enough of us who are desperate, who are tired, who are sick and tired of religion and religious stories. We're sick and tired of the messages and the dancing and prancing across the stage by leaders who simply want our eyes on them for 20 minutes on a Sunday morning, or whatever it is they want. They want your money. They want your attendance. They want your eyes on them. They want to be right in their own eyes. And my friend, they have not paid a price. They're ignorant. Millions. Boy, how audacious am I? Is it audacious? Is it ludicrous? Maybe so. Maybe I'm a nutcase. But I sure paid a price. I have led. And not many have followed. But I haven't sought followers, and I don't seek you to follow me. I seek you to become your word, to flow the word, to channel the word, to learn as Jesus learned. How did he learn? I tell you, I submit to you, I give you an idea. There's a lot more to the story of Jesus than what people preach. In fact, so many preachers, they preach 95% Paul, 1% Jesus. Boy, you can understand. They don't think of it this way. They think about the spirit, the spiritual element. They think about the emotions and how they've corroborated their own wants and beliefs to experience the anointing. And times of worship. Times of worship? You see, I've talked so much about the soul and explained the soul, and not asking you to understand. The soul is not something you redeem. The soul is not something to save. The soul is something, if you begin to learn, you begin to sit in the chair of your leadership to lead you, so that your soul and its power, its chakras, its emotions, its molecular tuning fork does not eat you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Control your life. This is Meonics. I sit in a chair of leadership to lead me. And if you want to follow me, you can. But not for long, because I develop leadership. I know what the motive of love is. And I've learned what the motive of God is. God? Is love not God? Is God not love? God is not love. But wait a minute, you have to differentiate it. You may not be able to even imagine that at the moment. But did love create hell? Did love send people to conquer people in another land and tell them to slaughter all the men, women, and children? Is that love? Does love give you a list of commandments? Is love everywhere watching you, keeping track? of whether you're a good little boy or girl, a good little man or woman, whether you obey the rules or not, so you get into heaven or not? Is God your Santa Claus story? I'm not meaning to be disparaging or denigrating or debasing. I'm trying to communicate. And there are analogies. Words are powerful things, especially when you join them together in certain strings. They become rather formidable, stronger than any two-edged sword. Why? Because they affect the mind that creates reality, the reality of you. Where do you live? Between your ears? Where is your consciousness? Where is your heaven? Where's your hell? Are you Jekyll or Hyde? Who are you controlled by, and who is controlling you? And why are you so damn stubborn? So many of you. Why are you so stiff-necked? You want to believe you're right, and you'll die to be right. You'll die. Why? So many of us, we've been taught to have faith. Fight the good fight of faith. I never told my son, my daughter, have faith that I love you. I showed them. I was there. They know my voice. They know my love. They know my touch. They know I listen. They know I care. I was involved. I taught. I was not a remote dad. There's no vicarious redemption. You want a God story? You can create one. Take your pick. And whichever one you choose, once you begin to choose and listen and consider, what draws you to that religion? Comfort, complacency, community. Oh, they like me there. They're nice to me. Those are soul connections. Soul to soul is magnetic. You want a soulmate? Magnetic? Okay. See how long that lasts. Oh, your parents lived together 50 years. You lived with somebody a long time? Did you experience freedom? Were your friends limited? Did you go where you wanted to go? Did you create? Did you live? Did you learn? Did you create the Creator? The Creator in your mirror? We were beginning to understand who we are. And with no God before us, if we're willing, we can learn, just like Jesus did. And love will teach us. Not the God of the Ten Commandments, but God before God was a God that wanted to control. Religion is all about control. It's all about the rules. It's all about compliance. Judgment, condemnation, compliance, rules, control. Hear me well. Millions will leave the church now because they don't want to be controlled anymore. They want to be free to love. They want to be free to create. You want to be free to create? I hope so. And think not to deliver yourself to the kingdom that other people create for you. I'm asking you to sit in your chair of leadership. You. There's nobody else that can sit in your chair. Your chair of leadership has your name on it, and nobody else has the power or authority to sit there. But there's sure a lot of people that will try. They'll try to sit there. They'll try to edge you out. They'll try to beat you to death with their hammer so that they make you into their image of you, so that you comply with their wants and wishes. So you're a flesh trained to be in accordance with their will. My friend, there's a chair of leadership for you with your name on it. And it takes guts. It's not some emotional decision that you make while the organ is playing and everybody's praying for your soul. I know the pull of that. I know the times I've wept and cried. What was that? See, there are times you begin to feel love no matter what's going on. My friend, you are unconquerable, if you will be. Unconquerable. If you will love. If you will learn to live love. If you will learn to let love teach you directly, this is the leadership that I lead. If you're around me very long, you develop your leadership, or you won't be around me. Period. Man or woman, rich or poor. I don't care how many billions of dollars you have or what influence you have over other people. I love love. I create love. Love is infinite. Love is not obedient to hierarchy that wants to control it. Love is a flow. Hear me well. Learn these words. Why? To develop your leadership to be free of the strings of control. Be it your wife, your husband, your religion, your pastor, your preacher, your families. Doesn't matter who it is. Freedom is your privilege. Freedom to create. Freedom to create you again. Freedom to create you again. Free of all of this. To be this. Light, love, and peace. A new creation. Perfect beauty. Ludicrous? No. Jesus was the first. My friend, there's no lion in the street waiting to devour you. Unless you believe there's one. And if you believe there's one, your belief system creates it because you can imagine anything you want to. So are you imagining things or believing things? Or what's the difference? Whose words are you led by this day? Jesus said, you're the light of the world. I'm simple enough to say, okay, what's that mean? Then what's that look like? I suggest that underneath your flesh, you are light. When all of this mechanical flesh comes off, if I become the real me, I'm perfect because I'm of a light race of perfection. Perfect in beauty, perfect in peace, perfect in joy. We don't even need words to communicate We just think, travel by intent. This is the world we knew before we became limited to space, flesh, molecular. If a God put me in this flesh, I don't want any part of that God except to render it without authority in my life, because I will undo all of what's been done to me, and I will come out and I will resurrect the real me. And this is what the new birth is. The new birth. It's not God creating you again. It's not said with a word, a sentence. You grow it. You grow it day by day. And this is the power of love. In a system of education I call Meonics, where you become the real me, you become the real you. You see, if you're in the school of me, you're in the school of you. You hear my words. I teach, I love, I channel. I speak words of power, love, empowerment, freedom for you to release the words of empowerment, authority, creatorship in you, to recreate you, to come out of the limitations of the flesh so that you do all the things that Jesus did and more. Today, you grow into that leadership, and your seat of leadership is waiting on you. You're being called to the head of the table that you lead. And it takes guts. It takes imagination. You forfeit a lot. You forfeit a whole lot. It's really costly. You give up unlove. You give up pseudo-love. You give up fake love. You give up love that keeps you under the authority of other people. You no longer string words together. They keep other people under you. You begin to set people free. You learn how to compliment. You learn how to encourage. You learn how to create with love. You learn how to empower love, because you are the power that hangs planets in space and goes beyond this cosmos. There is no fear in perfect love. Perfect love will teach you. Perfect love casts out all fear. Fear of judgment, fear of condemnation, fear of hell, fear of God. Have no fear of God. Have no God in your chair that creates you anymore to be in flesh and stay here. I have said a lot. Learn these words. Memorize them. Memorize them. Write them out. Record them. Play this recording. It's on YouTube. Play it again. Record it. Record it on an old phone, your present phone, a tape recorder. Transcribe it. If you want to know, if you want to become who you really are, you eat the words. You become the Word. You become the Word by absorbing it into you so that the neurons of your flesh are no longer eaten by the principles which other people want to instill in you to live a life limited to the cultural values which create another God above you. Be free this day. Okay, it's my message, my lesson, my teaching, my heart. Love you. Love each other. Forgive you. Forgive each other. Let not the judgment of any other person, judgment, condemnation, let no other power authority, person, or God condemn you. My friend, you have the power to resurrect before you die so that you defeat death. This is the message of Jesus. Do the things I do and greater. You think Jesus died on the cross? Some people say. A lot of people believe that. What if he ascended? What if he resurrected? Some kind of story had to be made up. They were already scared of his power because he healed people and so many people were following him. And they wanted to keep their power. What if one moment he was on the cross and the next moment he wasn't there? He didn't come down from the cross and walk around. He wasn't there. They had to do something. They made up a story. Oh, could be. What are you willing to imagine? What are you willing to learn? What are you willing to ask love to answer to you directly? Are you willing to pick up your pen and write the words, the first person words of love? Love that will differentiate for you what love is versus what you thought God was when you wanted to worship your God and serve God. Devote your life to a holy book. Oh. Write yours. The new covenant, write your love. Write the new covenant. Write the covenant between you and love. Sit in your chair of leadership and lead. Lead you to be led, no more by the principles of God, no more by the pastors and preachers of God, no more by the churches and the principles. Be led no more by fear. The bottom line, this permeates. Be no more led by fear. Be led by love, joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, empowerment, freedom. Freedom to be who you really are. Go do the things that Jesus did and greater. Go heal people. Raise the dead. Heal the sick. Walk on water. Turn water into wine. I'll vote for that. Coffee too. Be a teacher. Love teaches. Love is not silent. Love is never reclusive. But love is humble. Love bows before you every day and waits on you to call it by the motive in your mind. The motive. Not just the words. The motive. So no matter what you call God, no matter what you call love, truth, what love truly is not limited by your words or your vocabulary. Love is leadership. I don't know that I've ever said that. I've said many times that they are inextricable. I've never said they are equal, but I sure did today. Leadership is not love. A lot of people lead. They give you their voice, their ways, their wants, their words. But what is their motive? I've said much this day. Don't miss it. All of these recent ones where I began the title with Meonics, my goodness. I offer you all these teachings with love for you to lead you, for you to enter Meonics, enter the school not of faith, but the school of love, where you're no longer afraid. You're no longer afraid to ascend. You're no longer afraid to experience the resurrection. You're no longer afraid of heaven or hell or anybody else's authority. You're no longer a weakling. You're no longer a follower. Be a leader. Please lead. Please, please lead. Lead you first. Lead you to become love. Lead you to learn the channel to be taught directly from within. The holy place, the temple not made with hands, that's between your ears. God does not reside. God, love. Control. Two names for God. One is love, one is control. Control may live in a building. Love does not. Love sets free. Love says, do the things I do and greater. Love says, love each other. Forgive 7 times 70. 7 times 70? 490? My friend, limitless. Because you, when you know who you are the unlimited one. The only limits you have are the limits you placed upon yourself to experience your own creation. Now resurrect. You have the power. You have the authority. And my friend, you are the anointed one, waiting to receive the oil not poured down your beard, but the oil of joy, resurrection. So you're no longer limited to flesh, but just like Jesus, you can still operate in it. Don't leave us behind. After you resurrect, you're not limited to flesh. You travel by intent. You can appear in the upper room. You can suddenly appear at the lakeshore and tell your friends to cast their net on the other side of their boat. And you can even sit down and eat fish with them in what appears to operate as a molecular body and never see death again. Because you go, you're here, you're seamless, because you create something and it's not ludicrous and it's not limited. This is the new you. This is the new beginning, a race of new yous. A race of light people. A new beginning. No longer limited to land. Are you building an ark? Is your name Noah? Moses. You're leading a people out? Lead you first. I love you. I've talked an hour. If you embrace this message, religion will hate you. Don't kid yourself. And many people will decide they don't like you anymore. Pardon me. So there's a cost. Choose this day not whom you will serve. Choose your identity. Choose your vocabulary. Choose your power. Limit not your imagination. Limit not your ability. Limit not your mind to be the real one, so that we're no longer playing games. I love you all. I go now. My name is Theodore Cottingham, TheodoreCottingham.com. The School of Me, the School of Leadership, the School of Love, Light, and Joy, the School of Creation, the school to annihilate the puppet strings without a single sword. Because when you know who you are, you won't need to dodge bullets, Neo. You're saying I won't need to dodge bullets? No, when you're ready, you won't even need to dodge them. When Neo became ready, and the voices, the powers, the bullets came to him, fired out of a gun. He just held up his hand and said, no. There is no war. There is no fight. I know who I am. Be who you really are. This is what I'm about. This is why I exist. This is why I teach. Do as you want, but consider love. Be the lover of you. Love you first. Love no one above you. Serve no other God. Love, love. Thank you. Good day. You can write me. You can email me. Box 34 in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, USA. You can email me at TheodoreEureka@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. You can download this. Go to my website. I reduced the price again. I gave it free for many years. Maybe I will again. If you think it costs too much, you can tell me. I invite you. Let your love out of the box. Let no one control your heartstrings. Begin to create. Begin to communicate with people all over the earth and farther. And see not one central figure of God, but love is you who will be love, with the authority of love, with the mind of God. And who are you? Simple, common people? Dressing in light. I know who you are. I don't know your pain, but I have known mine. And none of us escape it in flesh. But we are not limited to the pain we've known anymore. We're not limited to the flesh. Imagine Close your eyes and imagine hearing perfect love saying, "You, my love, sit at my right hand while I make your enemies your footstool." And your only enemies are intangible. Your only enemies are words. And you begin to feel love and be taught by love. And one day you realize you were at the right hand of God, and now God is at the right hand of you because you've become it. This is the operation of perfect love. Be the true you, one-minded, one love, no separation, seamless. The value of humility, the value of humility, the value of surrender. Turns the key, is the key. Open the kingdom of God that's been within you all the time. Walk down the aisle. Receive your crown by growing it. This is the message of Jesus, the Jesus that I know. The Jesus that I became? No, I became Theodore. I became the real Theodore. You become the real you. That's what love is. Anything less? No, friend, it's not the real. Don't bow to another God. I love you. Thank you for sharing this time. Live love, live leadership. Be reclusive no more. Write me, love me. Be not afraid of your words. Be not afraid of your pen. Learn to channel. Learn to channel love, light, and peace. Begin to write. Please begin to write. Write me, write your words. Write to you. Write to your love. And lead. Good day. TheodoreCottingham.com. Theodore Eureka at Gmail. I love you. Go enjoy this day. Mull, ponder. Write, read. Study, listen. Absorb, become. Resurrect in your power. And one day soon, you may hang a planet in space. You may resurrect. You may turn water into wine. You may end the famine. You may empty a hospital. Begin. With the word of your love that comes through your mouth and your pen. That's the operation, the promise of the new covenant fulfilled for you to resurrect you and do all the things Jesus did and more. Don't live a vicarious life. Live yours. Yay! See you, friend. I love you. Good day. Write me.